It's the summer of high diplomacy in New Delhi. In the last few days, we have seen many leaders from across the world visit India. They have held talks, pushed bilateral ties, and the latest to join the list is India's neighbor and longtime ally, Nepal. Sher, Bahadur, Deuba, the Prime Minister of Nepal, is on a 3-day visit to India. This is his first official visit since assuming charge last year. On day one of his visit, the Nepali Prime Minister held talks with India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar and the Foreign Secretary Harsh Shringla. Indian Foreign Minister says the visit would strengthen India and Nepal's close neighborly ties. Deuba also visited the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party's office in New Delhi and met with the party's chief, J.P. Nadda. On Saturday, that is day 2 of his visit, Deuba will hold talks with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in New Delhi and will head to the historic city of Varanasi on Monday before returning home. This will be the first visit by any Nepali Prime Minister to India in the last 4 years. The last head of state visit from Nepal was in May 2019 when former Prime Minister PM Oli visited India for the swearing-in ceremony of Prime Minister Modi. But Kathmandu's ties with New Delhi hit a low during Oli's tenure after the Oli government's decision to issue a new map of Nepal, which depicted Kalapani, Lipulekh, Limpiadura as Nepal's territory. Now, with Deuba in power and China increasing its influence across South Asia, Nepal is looking at rebuilding and even strengthening ties with India. Let's talk more about us. Joining us live from New Delhi's WION Principal Diplomatic Correspondent Sidhant Sibal. Sidhant Sibal, good to see you. Tell us more about the strategic and religious symbolism of Prime Minister Deuba's visit to India.
Well, there is, of course, a lot of focus during the visit on many things, including temple diplomacy. He, of course, will be going to Varanasi, the holy city, on Sunday, and going to visit 2 important temples, Kashi Vishwanath and the Nepali temple. Now, Nepali temple has a history, a very interesting history, because this is a Nepali government property, and this was built by the former kings of Nepal when they were exiled to Varanasi. It is basically also known as Mini Pashupatinath. This is a famous Shiva temple in Kathmandu, and the Nepali kings tried to build it here, and they, of course, succeeded in that. And the Nepali Prime Minister is going to meet the Nepali community there. In fact, the Nepali Prime Minister will be the first head of government to use the corridor that was inaugurated by the Indian Prime Minister last year. So a lot of focus on temple diplomacy, but today is the main day of engagement here in Delhi. We know that both the Prime Ministers will be holding talks at Hyderabad House, and 3 key focus areas. First, of course, it is the economic partnership under which power pacts are expected to be signed. Second will be connectivity. Railway lines will be given a go-ahead, the launch of a project. And thirdly, a likely launch of India's RuPay card in Nepal. That's going to increase the economic transaction between people of Nepal and India. We know that no visa is required for any Indian to go to Nepal or any Nepali to come to India, and that has increased economic engagement. So this launch of RuPay card is going to help that.
Well, Sidhant, probably you can tell us, why is the Varanasi visit important for the Prime Minister and his party? How will that shape the upcoming elections?
Well, that's a visit important given that it is something that touches the sentiments of Nepali people. He gets to meet the Nepali community. And of course, yesterday also there was a reception organized here in the Indian national capital where there were members of the Nepali community. Of course, we know that there will be elections very soon. It obviously helps in terms of going to religious places. He also started his visit, interestingly, by going to the headquarters of the ruling BJP party here in India. Now, that is also very interesting part of the visit, given that no head of the state, in fact, it's very rare for any head of the government or state to visit the headquarters of the ruling party. This is, of course, something that has been one of the key showstopper of the visits. But largely his visit to Varanasi is something that will strengthen the relationship. It's termed as the roti beti ka rishta, that is familial ties between India and Nepal, something that is being emphasized by both sides. A lot of Indians are married to Nepalis, a lot of Nepalis are married to Indian, and there is a strong focus on people-to-people relationship, and his visit to Varanasi is going to help that.
Finally, Nepal has been embracing China when it comes to development projects. Do these moves by Beijing worry New Delhi?
Well, we know that there have been in past, especially under the former Prime Minister Sharma Oli's government, that there were increased engagement with the Chinese engaging in a lot of projects also in Nepal. But Nepal as a sovereign country has its own right to look to any country for development partnership. India is a natural partner when it comes to development partnership, given, of course, the linkages, both people-to-people linkages and the geographical linkages are easy with India than with China, given that if you look at the northern Nepal and, of course, the China border, that's a difficult terrain. And there is, of course, the religious connect as well. When it comes to China's role, there were, of course, worry in the Nepali people as well. We have seen protests happening in the past over the Chinese attempted influence. We know the Chinese envoy in Kathmandu in the past met the former Prime Minister when, of course, he was the ruling Prime Minister Sharma Oli, something that raised eyebrows. But it looks like under the present leadership, the focus is to have good relationship with New Delhi and Beijing. In fact, with US as well, with the passing of the MCC in the Nepali parliament.
Live from New Delhi, Sidhant Sibal, thank you very much for that insight and for talking to us today. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.